Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. I would like to start the session with a nice quote. What is today's quote? It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. And in a way, based on this quote, you have to recollect a particular idiom. Which one is that? We should always remember every cloud has a silver lining. Every cloud has a silver lining. Now let us go to the editorial. I hope it is on. Is there any problem with audio and video? Please respond. Today's editorial is all about English language as a common language or a link language and imposing Hindi as a link language. And when I talk about a link language, there is one particular expression. Today in our country, English is a link language or the common language. For that, there is one important expression. We use the term lingua franca. Lingua franca means the common language or the link language. This editorial talks about imposing Hindi as a common language, as a link language, and not saying no to English. Editor opines that is not a good idea. People should have the freedom and people should be able to decide the language of their choice. It is all about that. And besides the editorial analysis, today you're going to work on important questions based on exam topics. Now let us go to editorial vocabulary. Surprisingly, not too many words, only a few words, only one slide, but a few words are new words. Let us start with the first one, bar. Bar can be a noun, everyone knows that, but here bar can be a verb. Here it is a verb. What does it mean? To prevent something or someone from doing something or going somewhere, or not to allow something. There is a bar means some kind of prevention or some kind of prohibition. To prevent something or someone from doing something. Generally, we say no bar, age is no bar, age no bar means what? No restriction. When it comes to doing something, age should not be a bar. Means what? Age should not restrict doing something, or age should not prevent someone from doing something. So here, bar is a verb. It means to prevent something or someone from doing something. The editorial starts with that expression language no bar. Adopt, adapt, adapt. You have to, if you are a smart learner, you have to recollect all the three words. Adopt, choose to take up, follow, or use. Accept something, one meaning. But the typical meaning of the word adopt, to take someone's child and make yours legally. Here it's a different meaning altogether. Choose to take up, follow, or use. Adapt means what? To get adjusted, to get used to a particular situation or to a particular culture. Adept means skilled. It is an adjective. He is an adept driver. She is an adept cook. Means good at cooking, good at driving, skilled. Impose, it's an important word. I use quite often. I say, we have got many a time. Don't impose your ideas on others. Impose is a verb. Adopt also a verb. Adapt, verb. Adopt, verb. Adapt, adjective. Impose, a regular verb. Force an unwelcome decision or ruling on someone. You try to force your ideas on others, then we say, don't impose your ideas on others. Abandon, we have got many a time. I'm sure you guys know the word abandon. Part of speech verb. It is also a regular verb. Cease to support or look after someone. One word, desert. Abandon someone or abandon something. Desert. Or leave someone when someone is in distress. Suppose, assumption. Presuppose, to think that something is true in advance without having any proof. You don't have any proof, but you in advance you think something is true, then we use the word presuppose. This is also a verb. Perception, the way in which something is regarded, understood, or interpreted. Perceive, perception. Part of speech. Here it is a noun, I'm sorry. Perceive is a verb, perception, noun. Imbibe is a verb. That's an important word. Imbibe means absorb or assimilate. Usually it goes with ideas, knowledge, ideas, culture. It could be related to culture, cultural ideas, values, and customs. Absorb or assimilate. Make part of your personality. Imbibe. And one example, patriotism has been imbibed into their blood. Means what? It has been assimilated, absorbed, patriotism. Befitting, we have got for the first time in the recent past. Part of speech, adjective. Suitable or right for someone or something. You have a position, you are in some position. Based on the position, based on the status, you're supposed to behave in a particular way. Then we say befitting for you to do something. Means suitable being in that position. Shed can be a noun, can be a verb. As a noun, everyone knows a small thing where you keep the stuff or material or you stay. But here, shed is a verb. Usually it goes with shed skin, snakes, but it may go with anything. Shed inhibitions, one more combination. To get rid of something you do not need or want. You want to get rid of something, then we say shed, lose, get rid of. But do remember, get rid of, not double F, common error. It is only one F. Shed tears also you can say. Shed hair, shed fur. So many combinations. Aversion is an important word. It's a noun. A person or thing that causes a feeling of strong dislike or of not wishing to do something. You don't like someone, strong dislike towards something or someone, then you say, I have aversion towards something and towards someone, not a good thing. Diverse, I'm sure you guys know, part of speech, adjective, diverse culture, including many different types of people or things. India is known for its diversity. Condemn, N is silent, it's a verb. To criticize something or someone strongly, usually for moral reasons. To criticize someone in public based on moral grounds. Lash out is a phrasal verb. To suddenly attack someone or something physically or criticize them, him or her or it in an angry way. Lash out, to attack someone verbally, to criticize. Very good, Yakub. I appreciate that. Nurture, part of speech verb, it goes with children, usually kids. Care for and protect someone or something while they are growing. When a child is growing, you take care of that child. Then we use the word nurture. Substantive. Substantial, we have got many a time. Considerable. Substantive, having a firm basis in reality and so important, meaningful, or considerable. You can also say something that is important or very close to facts. As I said, not too many words, but a few words are important. Now let us go to the editorial. How does it start? Language no bar. A typical expression, age no bar. Here, in place of age, language no bar to do something, age no bar to do something. Here, language no bar. Bar means it could be a noun, it could be a verb. In this context, it is a verb. This is a standard expression, a standard phrase, no bar. And first, you have to know the meaning of the word bar means what? To prevent something or someone from doing something. No bar means no restriction. Nothing is going to stop, no one is going to stop, and no one is going to prevent, no bar. That's what you have to understand from the standard phrase. Now, what is the main idea of this editorial? States speaking languages other than Hindi should be free to adopt English as link language. As I said, this editorial is all about link language, whether link language should be Hindi or English, and the editorial opines Hindi should not be imposed and it should be left to the people to decide the language of their choice, and it should not be something like Hobson's choice. If they want to choose English as a common language, as a link language, as lingua franca, the states should be allowed to do that, and imposing a particular language, in this context Hindi, as a link language is not a good thing. That's what the main idea of the editorial, and based on this editorial it provides a background information. So what is the main idea? State speaking languages other than Hindi should be free, they should not be restricted. should be free to adopt English as link language. Here, whatever you see underlined, they may be the group of words could be a phrase, could be a clause, but do remember, important, you have to pick up those phrases and clauses. Should be free. Here, it is not in passive voice. Free is an adjective. Should be open, should be closed, should be something, should be free, a free bird. Here it is an adjective and should be something. That is a different pattern altogether. But if you use a verb in the past participle form, then it changes to passive voice. What is a backdrop? Now the editorial provides a backdrop. Union Home Minister Amit Shah's statement on making Hindi the language of communication for people of non-Hindi speaking areas or states was absolutely unnecessary. As I said, the editorial is crystal clear on its stand. What is a stand? Hindi should not be imposed, and states or people should be free to adopt English, or for that matter, any language as link language. They should have that freedom. So this starts with Union Home Minister Amit Shah's statement on making Hindi the language of communication. So Amit Shah made a statement. He wanted Hindi to be the language of communication for people of non-Hindi speaking areas. Today, in so many states, we don't come across Hindi as a common language, especially the South and the Northeast. And this talks about the Northeast context for people of non-Hindi speaking areas or states was absolutely unnecessary. Absolutely. Adverb. Unnecessary, not required, not wanted. As a chairman of the Parliamentary Official Language Committee, Mr. Shah, Amit Shah is the chairman of the Parliamentary Official Language Committee. As a chairman of the Parliamentary Official Language Committee, he is duty bound to promote the spread of the Hindi language. There's nothing wrong in that. It can be justified. The sentence says, in a way, as a chairman of the Parliamentary Official Language Committee, he is duty bound in promoting Hindi language, and there's nothing wrong with that. It can be justified. Duty bound, underline, means an important expression. But on contrary information with the word but the impression his speech generated at the 37th meeting of the panel in New Delhi last week is that he wanted to impose a language. As a chairman of a particular committee, being duty bound and trying to promote Hindi, nothing wrong with that. No one is going to point out. But it talks about a particular event where he perhaps wanted to impose Hindi as a link language, and that is not acceptable. It starts with, as a chairman, he is duty bound to promote the spread of the Hindi language. Perfect. But the impression his speech generated, he made a speech and it made an impact, and obviously any speech creates some sort of impact and generates a particular feeling. Based on that, the impression his speech generated at the 37th meeting of the panel in New Delhi last week is that what is the impression generated? What did people feel after listening to his speech? That he wanted to impose a language. There's one word over here, impose. It has a negative connotation. Impose means what? Force, usually unwelcome decision or ruling on someone. Force your ideas, force rules, impose taxes, impose rules, impose ideas. These are the typical combinations. So it generated or it created a negative impression. What is that impression? That he wanted to impose a language, which is not a good thing. Calling for the use of an Indian language among people who spoke languages other than Hindi. Here, calling for, asking the use of an Indian language among people who spoke languages other than Hindi. Mr. Shah said Hindi should be accepted as an alternative to English and not to local languages. This is the main idea. Based on this, the editorial has been written. Calling for the use of an Indian language. Here, based on this, you have to understand Mr. Shah has taken a stand, and that stand says, considers it does not consider English an Indian language. Based on that, the editorial says something. Calling for the use of an Indian language among people who spoke languages other than Hindi. Mr. Shah said Hindi should be accepted, passive voice. Hindi should be accepted as an alternative to English and not to local languages. That means what? Between Hindi and English, or Hindi as a common language, Hindi should be accepted as an alternative to English and not to local languages. And here, when he says this, it means English is not considered a local language or an Indian language, not a local language, an Indian language. It is up to the people. Now, editorial takes a stand. It is up to the people, an important expression, it has been underlined. It is up to the people of any two non Hindi speaking areas or states to decide what the language of communication should be. Center cannot impose which language has to be chosen as a common language or as lingua franca. It is up to the people. Generally, we say conversational English also. It is up to you. You should decide. It is up to the people of any two non Hindi speaking areas or states to decide what their language of communication should be. They have to decide, people and the state. If they are comfortable with English, which is also a global language, everyone knows that, the center has no business in advising them to abandon English and to take to any other language or Hindi, as done in this case. Again, reiteration of the same idea. If a particular state or people are comfortable with English, which is also a global language, English is a global language, everyone knows that, the center has no business, means the center cannot dictate terms. The center has no business in advising them. Advising, VISE is a verb form, VICE is a noun form, that you have to recollect. In advising, center has no business, it is not the center's business. The center has no business in advising them to abandon English and take to any other language or Hindi, as done in this case. The center cannot tell the states or people to abandon English and tell them to take Hindi or any other language as a link language. It is not the center's business. That's what the sentence talks about. There is one word over here, abandon. Abandon means what? Cease to support or look after, but in this context, leave, desert. Mr. Shah's observations presuppose, another word, suppose, one word, presuppose. Pre means what? The prefix pre means before. To think that something is true in advance without having any proof. Mr. Shah's observations presuppose a position that English is not an Indian language. So, this is the main thing. Editorial elaborates on this point. Mr. Shah's observations presuppose his stand, his statement presupposes the position that English is not an Indian language. On the other hand, the editorial says, with proof, it is an Indian language. What he seems to have overlooked is that English has been recognized as an Indian language as much as Tamil, Telugu, or Hindi have. So, Mr. Shah's stand or position, it states, it looks like English is not an Indian language. On the other hand, it looks like he has overlooked what he seems to have overlooked. This is in green, important. Why is it important from grammar point of view? Why is it important? They seem to have won the match. He seems to have overlooked. This is a non-finite verb. It is a perfect infinitive, to use a technical term, important from the exam point of view. What he seems to have overlooked is that English has been recognized as an Indian language as much as Tamil or Telugu or Hindi have. This recognition is also due to the Sahitya Academy, a central institution working for literary dialogue in the country. In a nutshell, it talks about Mr. Shah has overlooked English, as he has not considered English as an Indian language. On the other hand, English is an Indian language. It is like any other Indian language, as much as Tamil, Telugu, or Hindi have. And what is the body that has been promoting English as an Indian language? Sahitya Academy. The Academy, under the control of the Ministry of Culture, has, among others, been giving away annual awards for the best works of English, of course, authored by Indians. Because English has been considered an Indian language, Academy has been giving awards, annual awards. It talks about that. Besides, in addition, the advantage that English gives. Now, editorial talks about the benefits if English is used as a common language in the present scenario. Besides, the advantage that English gives to India has to be kept in mind. You have to keep something in mind. That's an important expression. Has to be kept in mind. There is one helping verb. Have to, has to with third person singular, other pronouns have to. What is the function of the helping verb have to? It is used to express to express an obligation. It is used to express an obligation imposed by an external authority or a situation. You have to do something. You have to report to the manager. Examples. As pointed out by the president of the Karnataka Pradesh Congress Committee, D.K. Shivkumar, Bangalore became India's IT capital because of English. Because of English, today we all consider Bangalore the IT capital of India, and it also has the Silicon Valley of India. How could it become the hub? Or when it comes to IT, how could it get the tag? Earlier, Bangalore, not no longer Bangalore, known as the Garden City of India, pensioners' paradise. Now it is known as IT capital just because of one particular language. Which language is that? English. Now, this is an important sentence. A few words, four words are there, new words in one sentence. It would be befitting. Befitting means suitable or right for someone or something based on the position, based on the status. It would be suitable for a person, befitting for a person holding the office of Union Home Minister to shed any aversion to English. It would be suitable for a person, Mr. Amit Shah, holding the office of Union Minister, to shed means get rid of any aversion, strong dislike to English, which has been a unifying force, which has been, here it is in present perfect, active voice, not passive voice, has been a unifying force in a vast and diverse society such as India. India is known for its unity in diversity, cultural diversity. So many cultures, so many states, so many languages. What is a common language or what is lingua franca? Obviously, English. Expectedly, so what is the reaction based on his speech? Expectedly, Mr. Shah's statement has been condemned politically, especially by the non BJP opposition parties. And to substantiate that statement, many parties have condemned Mr. Shah's statement, especially by the non BJP opposition parties. Even the AIADMK, a party that has been friendly to the BJP, has issued a statement to its coordinator and former Chief Minister O. Selvam, who expressed his disapproval of any move to impose Hindi. They don't, no one likes, if you take any, no one in the sense, people or a particular state, imposing a particular language, in this context, Hindi. But most significantly, it is Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin who rightly lashed out. Lash out is a phrasal verb to suddenly attack someone or something. In this context, not physically, verbally criticize him or her or it in an angry way. But most significantly, it is Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin who rightly lashed out at Mr. Shah for seeking to create a single identity, which Mr. Stalin has pointed out will not create unity. There are two things over here. One is identity, single identity, another unity. By doing something like this, by imposing certain things, you may create a single identity, but you cannot create unity. This is again a valid point. It is nobody's case that Indian languages, let alone Hindi, should not be nurtured and promoted. Nurture, an important word, but usually it goes with kids. Care for and protect while something is growing, while a kid is growing. It is nobody's case that Indian languages, let alone Hindi, should not be nurtured and promoted. That means what? Indian languages should be promoted, they should be nurtured. They all deserve the support of the state. They all deserve the support. They have to be supported. Those in power should also follow up their words with substantive measure towards this direction. Means what? Those who are in power, they have to nurture and promote Indian languages, and whatever they say, perhaps at the time of elections or otherwise, they have to follow up their words, whatever the promises, with substantive measures towards this direction. This direction, nurturing and promoting Indian languages. And there's one important word, substantive. Quite often we come across the word substantial. Substantial improvement means what? Considerable. Here, substantive, adjective, having a firm basis in reality and so important, meaningful, or considerable. But you can also take it as something very important and based on facts. But at the same time, no room should be given. This is also an important expression. But at the same time, no room should be given for any perception that the promotion drive will be at the cost of English. They have to promote the languages, they have to nurture the languages, but whatever they say, it should not create an impression that it is going to be at the cost of English, at the cost of someone, at the cost of something. Means you try to do something at the cost of something else. That means you try to do something. In that process, you try to create some sort of damage to something else. So this sentence talks about that. You can promote the languages, but not at the cost of English. But at the same time, no room should be given for any perception that the promotion drive, in this context, promoting Hindi, will be at the cost of English. Promoting Hindi should not be at the cost of English. Respect for multiculturalism and a pluralistic identity is a quality that the political class, particularly those in power, should imbibe. Imbibe means to absorb. This talks about those who are in power, they have to absorb, accept, assimilate certain ideas. What are those ideas? Respect for multiculturalism. India is known for that. And a pluralistic identity. Plural means many in this context, is a quality that the political class, particularly those in power, should imbibe. Mr. Shah would do very well if he demonstrates through words and actions that he has that quality in abundance. So it ends on that particular note based on Mr. Shah's speech. That is a backdrop, and against that, this has been written. It ends based on the same thing. Mr. Shah would do very well if he demonstrates through words and actions that he has that quality. What is that quality? Imbibing the idea, respect for multiculturalism, and a pluralistic identity. He has that quality in abundance. So, this is all about the editorial. Now, let us go to a few questions based on this editorial, comprehension related questions. What is this editorial about? And this is an important article, editorial. What is the reason? This has been there for quite some time. You may get a passage in prelims or mains, not in the descriptive English, but prelims or mains passage or cloze test, imposing a particular language, especially in this context, Hindi, and considering English as a lingua franca, especially if you take the southern states, and to be very specific, Tamil Nadu, many a time they have vehemently opposed Hindi as a common language being imposed, especially. So that way, it is an important editorial. What was absolutely unnecessary in the context of the editorial? Two key words: absolutely unnecessary. You should navigate, locate, and write the answer. What presupposes the position that English is not an Indian language? Something presupposes, and what is that? Again, keywords you have to focus on. What would be befitting, an important word, for a person holding the office of Union Home Minister? Something would be befitting. So, what is that you have to write? In the context of the editorial, what will not create unity? It may create something else, but common identity. It may not create unity. So, in the context of the editorial, what will not create unity? Keywords, they matter a lot when it comes to answering questions based on the editorial or a passage. Before we go to the practice questions, please download the app Murthy's English. I've started batches, bank exams, and Today is the last day. If you are interested, you could enroll. Please go through the details. And descriptive English, I'll be starting soon. Now let us go to first five questions based on error location, lengthy sentences, current topics. As I said, I usually bring questions from previous year's papers, also questions from the Hindu paper and international magazines, so that you are in touch with current topics in the limelight. Please read the sentence and try to spot the error. Grammar, in the context of languages, provides rules for how sentences can construct from words. Yes, states have choice to choose their language. That's right. Very good. Who is this? Satish Kumar within no time. And the first one I appreciate. Here, contextual awareness very important. Grammar in the context of languages provides rules for how sentences we create sentences, that is active voice. Sentences always at the receiving end, that means we have to use passive voice. We create sentences are created. In this context, can provides rules for how sentences can be constructed. Can construct, not correct. How sentences can be constructed. Here it is passive voice, passive voice. How we can construct sentences, how sentences can be constructed. It is in passive voice with the helping verb can. All the helping verbs take the same pattern. You should read that book. That book should be read by you. She can do the work. That work can be done. She can do that work. That work can be done. We can construct sentences. Sentences can be constructed by us. Same pattern that you have to recollect. Question number two. A lengthy sentence looks like a paragraph. Policemen in front of who Sugandh was demonstrating how he uses ganja after being detained in a village from northern Telangana were taken aback. Taken aback means surprised a lot at the innovative way of his ganja consumption. So, where is the error? This is an important question. Under pressure, there is every possibility to get confused. Balu Naik, first one, very good, I appreciate. Here, there is an error in the first part itself. You don't have to go beyond. Policemen in front of who? Someone has demonstrated something in front of someone, in front of them, in front of him. That means here the focus is on object. When we talk about an object, we have to use whom. When we talk about the subject, we have to use who. But here it is about the object. He demonstrated before them. He demonstrated before whom? Before them. So, policemen in front of whom Sugandh was demonstrating. Very good, I appreciate. And always recollect who goes with subject and whom goes with object. Whenever you are in confusion, you have to decide between these two. Think of the answer. Who won the match? He won the match. Here it is on, focus is on the subject. Who did you come with? Wrong. What is the reason? I came with him. Him, object. Then we have to say, whom did you come with yesterday? As simple as that. And in competitive exams, many a time they have given difference between who and whom. Please go to question number 3. There had been a spurt an important word, increase in ganja seizure cases. Seize, capture something, take something by force using power and authority, especially in the last 2 years, says a police officer from Asifabad, Kumram Bhim district. This is also an important one. You have to read meticulously. One word is enough to go off the track. No, that is not the answer. Very good. Who is this? MSK. Yakub. Here, whenever you come across, I've been telling you guys, whenever you come across words like said, says, told, ordered, requested, asked, that means they are reporting verbs. And here the reporting verb is in present tense. Then you have to recollect the rule that goes with statements, indirect speech. What is the first rule? Indirect speech statements. If the reporting verb is in present tense, present perfect, or future, the tenses don't change. He must have said there has been a spurt in ganja seizure cases, especially in the last 2 years. It talks about from the past to the present. Actual statement should be in present perfect, and it has to be while reporting also present perfect. Based on that, had is not correct, has been. And do remember, this is an important one. There has been a spurt. What is the reason? Here it is related to first, you have to know. Question is about indirect speech and reporting verb. Here, reporting verb. When it comes to indirect speech, reporting verb is very important. And there's one important rule. If the reporting verb is in present tense, present perfect tense, or future tense, the tenses don't change to a corresponding past tense. And here people may overlook, students may overlook, but this is the key. Says, here the reporting verb is in present tense, then the tenses don't change. Go to question number 4. The center's move to make Hindi a compulsory language in schools across the 8 states in the Northeast has been miffed various organizations in the region. That is another expression. Last 2 years means last 2 years time period. I have already explained. Usually we say for the last 2 years, but English has different patterns. Based on that, here it is another pattern. Idea is the same from past to the present. If you are talking about a situation, past to present, obviously you have to use present perfect tense. That is understood based on the context. Very good. Here we cannot use passive voice. We have to use active voice. Based on that, the centers move, no error, to make Hindi a compulsory language in schools, no error, across the 8 states in the Northeast. In the Northeast, very important, no error, has been miffed, has miffed. The action has made an impact. Here we have to use in active voice, present perfect. This question is related to active voice. Been is not correct. Has been miffed means passive voice. Here we cannot use passive voice. Has miffed various organizations in the region. Has annoyed, has miffed. Miffed means annoyed, irritated, annoyed, miffed. Go to the last question. A lengthy one, a bit surprising. Elephants, unpredictable, very dangerous when they try to chase or attack someone or something. Unstoppable. So much power they have. Read the sentence meticulously. 6 personnel of the Border Security Force (BSF) sustained injuries when they encountered a pack of wild elephants during an anti-Naxal training session in the Chandaka Wildlife Sanctuary. All these under pressure, not that easy because lengthy sentences. Nothing wrong with Dilip, but what is it? You have to write the correct expression, the correct form. 6 personnel of the Border Security Force, nothing wrong. Sustained injuries, typical expression. When they encountered, nothing wrong. Here we are talking about elephants. We don't use the word pack. Pack goes with canines, especially wolves. We have to use the word herd. Herd of elephants. Herd of elephants, not pack of elephants. Error is in the second part. It is not a pack, it is a herd of elephants. 5 questions, fillers from international magazines or perhaps the Hindu paper, one of the two. I don't want to disclose the exact source. Artificial intelligence, AI techniques, especially the use of machine learning algorithms, are in today to find new molecular structures. Group also can be used, but appropriate word is heard. Group is a general term. Here we have to use appropriate word. Flock of birds, yes. Herd of elephants, pack of wolves. Artificial intelligence, something is in, are in. Techniques are in. Vague. Vague means what? Not clear. Not clear, not the right word. Are in vague. We don't use that expression. This goes with a standard phrase. Are in use, you can consider. Are in vogue. Vogue means popular, in use. Popular, in use. Practice, are in practice. Again, you can consider, but you have to recollect. In practice, TISC verb form, TIC noun form, none. Use, nothing wrong. If something is in practice, nothing wrong, but you should always choose the one that goes with effective English. Based on that, we cannot consider. Nothing wrong grammatically. Do remember, better expression is in fashion. It goes with the fashion industry, in vogue. But in this context, very popular. Here are in vogue today to find new molecular structures. Vague already have written not clear. We cannot use the word vague, we have to use the word vogue. Please go to question number 2, fillers. While the method has been demonstrated for use in building molecules, the applications could be far beyond chemistry. Applications could be far going, far reaching, far fetching, far making, none. You have to read the sentence, understand the context, and focus on the key word. Applications could be far reaching, very good. It's a standard expression. Impact is going to be a lot. The consequences, the applications could be far reaching. Usually it goes with consequences could be far reaching. Applications could be far reaching. No, it is not going, not fetching, not making. Far reaching. That is the right word. Drug abuse in Telangana is leaving police officials high and dry. High and dry. Please, fetch means to go get something, exactly. This is based on a particular idiomatic expression. Very good. If you read the newspaper, within no time you'll be able to answer. High and dry means without any help, without any resources, one of the meanings. And here it is not wet, it is not damp. Damp means a little wet, not a lot. A little wet. Hot, none. Answer is high and dry means what? I told the answer. In the flow, it must have come out. If we, all these challenges, there is a further problem with typical machine learning algorithms. If we, all these challenges, contextual awareness, very easy to answer. My mistake, fine. Sometimes it happens in the flow because I'm so conditioned with the expression. Very good. Here, it talks about, context talks about overcoming challenges. If we overcome all these challenges, there's a further problem with typical machine learning algorithms. That means overcome. You have to look for the word that means overcoming. Summarize is not correct. Consider not correct. Because the clue here, further problem, none. Answer is surmount. Surmount means overcome. Now read the sentence. If we overcome all these challenges, there is a further problem with typical machine learning algorithms. So, answer is the first option, no second thoughts. But the ECI adopted a approach, hands-on approach, hands-off approach, hands-over, hands-in, none. Again, under pressure, phrasal verbs put a lot of pressure, not easy to answer. Same verb, different preposition, a different phrasal verb. Hands-on approach. Please understand the context. Who is this? Shrima. Very good. I appreciate only one to get it right. Only one student has got it right. Now I see. Reshma also, two students. Very good. I appreciate. Here, understand the context. But the ECA adopted a approach. Hands-on means based on experience. But here it talks about whether such policies are financially viable or have adverse effect on the economic health of the state is a question that has to be considered and decided by the voters of the state. Based on that hands-off approach, that means hands-off approach means what? It has two or three meanings. One meaning, it is used when you talk about a warning, when you want to give a warning. Another one, you don't want to get involved. Here, ECI doesn't want to get involved. So, hands-off approach means not involving itself. What is the, how can we decide? It has to be decided, considered and decided by the voters of the state. ECI cannot decide, cannot adopt, or cannot consider. So hands off is a right word, not hands on. This is again based on science, not easy. You have to spend at least 3 or 4 minutes and read meticulously, indirectly giving warning exactly, and also not involving in something. Sai Arvind. Let us take elimination approach. And cannot be the first one. Moreover cannot be the first one. We usually, I say any sentence with a pronoun cannot be the first one, but exceptions are always there. Generating molecules hold this one. The 20th century hold this one. We can now have designer molecules. Look at it very carefully. No, no, don't be hasty when it comes to para jumbles. Read all the parts. You cannot answer just like that. D is not the answer. You guys have the same wavelength. One student says D. I see a lot of students D, 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 almost all. That is not the first one. D is not the first one. No, no, no. No one has got the first one. Here, the first sentence is C. We think of molecules as occurring in nature. Large macromolecules lead us to the basis of life. C is the first one. No one has got it right. C is the first one. Now I see Ambika says C. Very good. That is the first one. Then it talks about, this context is about molecules occurring in nature naturally, and molecules created in the lab artificially in a synthetic manner. Based on that, we think of molecules as occurring in nature. Large macromolecules lead us to the basis of life. C is the first one. Then comes the 20th century gave us new materials synthesized in the lab. E is the second one. Based on that, again, we can now have designer molecules where we formulate a wish list of properties for material, or generating molecules computationally involves CED. CE1 pair. Yes, it is F. We can now have, based on that, gave us new materials synthesized in the lab. Based on that, we can now have designer molecules where we formulate a wish list of properties for material, say desired tensile strength as well as flexibility. CEF1 pair. And seek not to merely discover but also construct molecules that exhibit such properties. Obviously, FA1 pair. That is right. After that, what? Generating molecules computationally involves the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms that require large data sets to train on. D. Moreover, the molecules thus designed may be hard to synthesize, so the challenge is to circumvent these shortfalls. DB. Very good. CEFA and DB. That is the correct order. Now let us go to, what time is it? 8:52. We still have 8 minutes. Last but one, idioms. Be improving after an illness. What is the answer? That's good. Be improving after an illness. Back on one's feet. Be on the mend. Bitter pill to swallow. Break out in a cold sweat. Feel on the top of the world. A5. No. Be improving after an illness means be on the mend. 2. Be on the mend. To feel very happy and healthy. For that, you have to use feel on the top of the world. Physically healthy again. Back on one's feet. 1. An unpleasant fact that one must accept. No choice. Bitter pill to swallow. To perspire from fever or anxiety. Break out in a cold sweat. Improving after an illness, if someone is improving after an illness, he is on the mend. Answer is the second one. To feel very happy and healthy, feel on the top of the world. Cloud 9. Physically healthy again, back on one's feet. Unpleasant fact that one must accept, there's no choice. Bitter pill to swallow. To perspire means what? Sweat from fever or anxiety. Break out in a cold sweat. Easy to answer. Let us go to editorial vocabulary. Bar in this context a verb. What does it mean? Prevent someone from doing something. Restrict. G is the answer. Has anyone got all the 5 idioms correct? Today's idioms are not easy. If you say all the 5 correct, highly appreciable. Impose, a regular verb, means what? Force a decision. usually unpleasant, not acceptable. Abandon, again a verb, desert. Leave someone or something, not to support someone when someone is in distress. Imbibe, again a verb, absorb or assimilate ideas, traditions, customs. Oh, very good, Pandit. I appreciate Sashikant. All the five correct. That's really great. Highly appreciable. Here, imbibe means what? Absorb or assimilate. Nurture, again a verb. Care for or protect something that is growing, a child, a company, an organization, anything for that matter. Substantive, important or related to real facts, adjective. Befitting, again adjective. Suitable or right for a particular person in a particular position. Shed can be a noun, can be a verb. In this context, a verb means what? Get rid of something. Aversion towards something, noun. Strong dislike towards someone or something, D is the answer. Diverse, part of speech, adjective. Including different types of people or cultures or customs, H is the answer. Has anyone got all the all the 10 correct? If you say yes, that is very good, highly appreciable. That's all for today. Have a nice day. Thanks for being with me till 8:57. Do remember to subscribe and share. Join the Telegram group. All that you have to do, click on the link after the go to the description of the video and click on the link. And I'm not giving the PDF from today. Now on, I'm not going to give the PDF. Please listen for a few minutes. And once a week, you're going to get English for competitive exams, a weekly e-zine, English magazine. And that is not free. You have to buy that. All the details I'll be talking, I'll come up with a video in 1 or 2 days. Please wait for that. You can watch the video, of course. 1 year validity is there. You can definitely watch. 1 year time is there.